Hello, sir. Rikin bhai, can you hear me?
हाय रिकिन भाई, संदीप भाई, क्या हाल है?
All well, Hari bhai, कैसे हैं?
गुड, लॉन्ग टाइम.
Yes, I'm just driving home. थोड़ा डिले हो गया कुछ चीज की वजह से.
अच्छा, कोई बात नहीं.
हाँ, बट इंट्रोडक्शन हमारा होगा आज सबसे मिलने का, तब तक पहुंच जाऊंगा.
हाँ.
आप कैसे हैं बाकी?
ऑल गुड.
नाइस. मुस्कान तो बड़ी अच्छी जा रही है, मतलब अच्छा ही, मतलब फ्रेश है काफी.
क्या बोला? सुनाई नहीं दिया.
मैंने बोला आपके मुंह पे मुस्कान तो बहुत बहुत अच्छी आ रही है, तो मतलब फ्रेश ही है. बाकी लोगों को पता नहीं लग रहा है कि ये नया लिंक भेजा है.
हाँ, शायद वेट करेंगे अभी 2-3 मिनट, देखते हैं.
हाँ, सब आ जाएंगे. बाकी काम अभी कैसा है आपका?
ऑल गुड, गोइंग गुड. आप बताइए कैसे चल रहा है?
ऑल वेल. थोड़ा हेक्टिक जा रहा है काम, बट अच्छा है.
अच्छा.
और कोई आया कि नहीं आया? Heath Patel is in. Wow. Very nice.
Hi everyone. Hello.
Hello.
Hi प्रदीप भाई.
Hi Hari bhai. I think waiting for Nilesh. I think I saw his
So I
message.
think, yeah, we are waiting for a couple of more guys, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Vignesh, I think he was waiting.
तो क्या हाल है और बाकी सब बढ़िया चल रहा है? All good.
All good, Hari bhai. Nice to see you again.
Same here.
एक नया बंदा भी ग्रुप में ज्वाइन करने वाला है, लेकिन आई थिंक ही इज मैसेज मी ही इज अनेबल टू डू सो लास्ट मोमेंट में, बट दैट्स संदीप फ्रॉम हैरो ग्रुप, बट होपफुली ही विल जॉइन द नेक्स्ट वन. आई होप सो. ही हैड शोन अ कीन इंटरेस्ट. तो शायद आपसे मिले थे वो अपने गणेश फेस्टिवल में. आई थिंक ही मेट यू.
Manish and Nilesh are in waiting.
मनीष और नीलेश, दे मे बी ऑन द ओल्ड लिंक. उनको बोलो नया लिंक ज्वाइन करें.
ये नए में वेटिंग दिखा रहे हैं.
अच्छा, लेकिन भाई आपको कोई वेटिंग दिखा रहा है क्या? म्यूट पे तो मुझे पता नहीं.
लेकिन भाई म्यूट पे हो आप. म्यूट पे. Rikin bhai, you are on mute.
Yeah, maybe he is not able to hear us, right? मैं मैसेज करता हूँ.
Yeah. हाँ, आ गए.
ओके. मनीष भाई भी आ गए क्या?
मनीष भाई भी आ गए.
Okay, cool. Anybody else left?
जिग्नेश, वो शायद होल्डिंग का होगा, तो जिग्नेश को अगर फोन कर दे पैडी तो
हाँ, मैं जिग्नेश को फोन करता हूँ. ओके, 1 मिनट होल्ड कर.
और सचिन को भी पूछ ले, वो आने वाला था.
किसको किसको?
सचिन.
Okay, I'll call him. Yeah, give me 2 minutes. Yeah, I'll be back.
पैडी चीजें तो जिग्नेश को कर ले, मैं सचिन को कर लेता हूँ तब तक.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Oh, somebody dropped off. Who? Manish bhai dropped off शायद.
I think yeah, Manish bhai dropped off. You're right. अरे भाई, और जिग्नेश को बोला, कॉल किया तो वो नए लिंक पे ही था, लेकिन बोल रहा है लॉबी में था. तो आई थिंक I told him to try again once more, log out and log in. I think some हो सकता है कुछ टेक्निकल इशू रहा हो.
मैं सचिन को फोन किया था, अभी इसका नो रिप्लाई आ रहा है.
ठीक है, छोड़ दे, उसको ज्वाइन करना हो तो मैं देख के आ जाएगा. हाँ, we'll just wait for Manish bhai. I think because he's back. I think seems like he's back. और जिग्नेश भी आना चाहिए, and then we can make a start. Rikin bhai, can you hear us? Okay.
वो म्यूट पे है शायद.
हाँ.
Hey guys, thanks. I managed to join.
Okay, super. जिग्नेश भी आ गया.
Hi Jignesh bhai.
Hello. After long. How are you all?
Good.
Hari bhai, abhi tak aap same ho. You look same. You did not put on any weight.
No. I was just wondering whether Manish bhai was with us for the last sessions or is he joining new?
नहीं, Manish bhai was there, but I think he was on and off. कुछ sessions तो attend किया Manish bhai ने, right? Manish bhai?
That's correct. Yes, I think I was on and off. So I did attend one and I missed one, something like.
Okay. All right. So I think then everyone has got some background. This is not new, right? So the new people who are supposed to join, they have not joined yet, right?
That's right. Yeah.
So okay. So which means that we don't have to start from the beginning. We can just rest through. And it's been a long break, right? So I'm sure that people might not be, everyone might not be remembering what has been taught. But I think you have sent that link to them.
Yeah, I did. जो पहले का प्रेजेंटेशन का था लिंक और जो एक PDF फाइल है वो उसका लिंक्स भेज दिया था.
Okay, good. So I think then let's make a start. Before we begin, of course, anything from the link, whatever that you have gone through, anything that you want to raise so that we can just quickly discuss that and then we can make a proper start.
Yeah, I think Hari bhai, personally, I think I just did a refresh of the presentation to see the steps we followed, like starting में जो the Vedas and how it is structured, then going into the individual learnings of the sadhaka, right? All the learnings. So उसमें एक अगर वो हम थोड़ा सा recap कर सकते हैं, just to brush on that, it will help, because there were 6 or 7 and they were all quite important and there was thin lines between one and the other.
Yeah.
और वैसा था, तो वो एक would be useful. और दूसरा, I think the last part was the picture you had explained, Krishna and Arjun on the chariot, and explaining those 6 or 7 books. I think that kind of is a good probably recap करने के लिए वो right, and it will also bring us back into the mode, I guess.
Yeah, sure. So we'll do that, and let's try to make it as interactive as possible, right? Because there is no point in doing one-sided thing. So let's see. So
Yeah,
I think
sure.
we'll make a start then. Yeah.
Okay.
We'll just chant the prayer and then start.
Hmm.
सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्परां श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः. Please stand after me. Om Sahana Vavatu.
Om Sahana Vavatu.
Sahano Bhunaktu.
Sahanam Bhunaktu.
Bhunaktu.
Sahaviryam Karavavahai.
Sahaveryam
Sahaviryam Karavavahai.
Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai.
Tejasvinamaditamasttu ma vidvishavahai.
Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Om
Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Asato ma Sadgamaya.
Asato ma
Sadgamaya.
Sadgamaya.
Tamaso ma Jyotirgamaya.
Tamaso
Tamaso ma Jyotirgamaya.
Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya.
Mrityorma
Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya.
Okay, so we'll start. Let me share my screen. Let me know once you can see the screen.
Yes.
Yeah, it's coming up, I think.
Yeah, I can see it.
So what we have seen is this text called as Tattva Bodha, right? So just to recap, so Tattva Bodha is kind of a elementary text, or what is called as a Prakarana Grantha, right? So what we are trying to do is that we are trying to take the baby steps towards learning the Vedas and the spirituality from our cultural context, from an Indian context, right? So, and we, like Pradeep said, there are about 6 layers that we have already discussed, starting from the Vedas up to the Prakarana Granthas, right? So each of these layers have evolved after certain periods. So the first one being the Vedas, that's the base of our spirituality, right? Or Sanatana Dharma. And from there, it got consolidated, and it then came the sutras, then came the smritis, the Puranas, the Itihasas, and the Prakarana Granthas or the Bhashyas, right? The texts. So we have been looking at the Tattvabodha text written by Shankara Bhagavad or Sri Shankaracharya. So we went through the Guru Parampara as well. So this knowledge from the Vedas are believed to be coming directly from the Lord Sadashiva or the Parameshwara. right? So Lord Sadashiva gave it to Brahma, Lord Brahma, and then from there it got passed on to Vasishta, Shakti, Parashara, Vyasa, Shuka. Then, coming to the Gaudapada Acharya, Govindacharya, Adi Shankara. So again, there are a lot of other rishis in between. There are a lot of teachers in between, but we are just naming the main teachers who gave us this knowledge. Right. So then this is what we had discussed earlier about the fourfold qualification. So now what we are trying to do here is like, we are trying to get admission to the elementary school, right? So the primary school. So then now we are making our kit ready in terms of stitching the uniforms and buying the shoes and the books and all that, right? So that's what, before we get to the real subject, we are seeing what are the qualities that we are that are required, right, for a sadhaka. So this actually, why this is kept here is to dispel some of our notions, common notions, that we need to be born in a particular community, or we need to have certain lineage. So Shankaracharya says that there are about the fourfold qualifications that are required for a sadhaka, and that is what is required, right? So what are the fourfold qualifications? Nitya Anitya Vastu Viveka. That is a basic understanding of the concept of the Brahman and Maya, which means that the changeless and the changing world, right? So that I'm not going into the details because we are going to see this again, but I hope that I'm just trying to kind of bring this
Yeah.
back to your memory, right? Because we have already gone through that. So the Brahman and Maya, the best example that we quoted is the gold and ornaments, right? So the gold is the base on which the ornaments are made, and what is changing there? The form and shape and the utility is changing, but the gold itself is not changing. So that way, the understanding is that Brahman is the base for, or the base energy for the entire universe. So we will come to this logically in terms of how this can be proved, or what is the base of saying this, right? So then Viraga or Vairagya. So that is again, it's not just like the detachment. The Viraga, if you look at the word meaning, it's detachment, but renunciation from the mind level, not like you are renouncing everything and going to the forest. That's not what it means, but you should have a basic detachment from a mind level. Again, all this will be revisited later. Shatka Sampati, there are 6 qualifications. That is, Shatka Sampati means 6 qualifications, which are Shama, that is Shama is controlling the mind, Dama controlling the senses, Uparama, which is performing one's own dharma, right? Titiksha is to be neutral to the pair of opposites. Shraddha is to have the concentration, or concentration towards learning, that is the dedication towards what is mentioned in the scriptures. And the Samadhanam is like Chittaika Egagrada. So concentration towards all this, which will come as an effect of all these steps: controlling the mind, controlling the senses, doing your own dharma, being neutral to the pair of opposites, and then having devotion towards the spiritual text. And then all these steps will bring the single pointedness of the mind, or the samadhanam. And then what you need to have is the mumukshutam, or just the desire to be free. Free from what? You will see that, right? So this is what we have seen till now. Of course, we have seen in detail about this. And then, we visit about what are the 4 stages of mind. Again, I'll come back to that. So this is what you are mentioning about the Dhamma part, wherein we were mentioning about the chariot and how to control the senses. So as I had mentioned earlier, also in multiple, our discussions, all the Puranas, or all the stories that we hear in Puranas, are all related to, the tattvas behind it, right? Some ideals behind it. So the stories are all being told like, our Panchatantra stories, or Panchatantra stories is to teach you some morals, but the Puranas are taught to give the specific insights to the values, the ideals mentioned in the Vedas, or which we call as Vedantas or Upanishad, right? So whatever ideas that are mentioned in the Vedanta, right, to reach it to the common man, the stories are used. So it doesn't mean that Rama doesn't exist or Krishna doesn't exist. That's not what we are trying to say. What we are trying to say is that through the stories, there is an ideal behind all the stories, whichever small or big story that you're taking the Puranas, right? You know, be it Krishna, Rama, Shiva, whatever the deity that you are believing in, or whichever story that you are following, there is a spiritual significance between each and every story, and there is the ideal associated with it. Normally, what has happened now is we have taken off the ideal, the spiritual significance or the tattva behind the stories, and then we are just going with the story, and that's actually it becomes blindsided, because we just know the story. We don't know what is the purpose of telling that story, right? So unfortunately, that's the situation that we are in, and that's why though we are call ourselves Hindus, right? We don't know what is actually mentioned in the Sanatana Dharma, right? So we will look at these stories also going forward, but at this point of time, we will look at the elementary text, because see, the point is that the stories are being told to the common man to get them attracted, to get them to tell them in a simplified manner what is the ideal behind all these, what is taught in the Vedanta. But for us, because we have learned so much in terms of our worldly knowledge, and we are all logical thinkers, so probably we don't need to take that long route of going through the stories and then coming back to the idea. We all have, like, sharp minds where we can understand that, but we will of course use a lot of stories during our journey, right? And we will also tell the stories which so that we can connect to what is being taught. When we are talking about the ideals that are mentioned here, the tattvas that are mentioned here, we will also mention the stories there. So now coming back to this one, about Krishna and Arjuna and the battlefield. So Mahabharata Yuddha itself is something that is happening within us, right? That's how we should look at it. And Krishna himself says that multiple times in the Bhagavad Gita itself. Janma karma cha me divyam yome veti tattvadaha. So he says that my birth and my the karma that I'm doing, it should be understood not as just as a story, but you should go behind that and understand the tattva. Janma karma cha me divyam yome veti tattvataha. That tattvataha has got more importance there. So if you look at this imagery of the chariot and Krishna and Arjuna in the battlefield, that is exactly what each and every one of us are going through, right? If you take it from an individual perspective, and this is also clearly mentioned in the Kathopanishad, and the same sloka gets repeated in the Bhagavad Gita as well. So what is it saying is that, the chariot, the body is the chariot, and Krishna or the intellect is the charioteer, right? Arjuna is the passenger, or what we call as the self or the Atman. The reins are the mind, and the senses, the five senses, it actually goes in different directions. And wherein what happens in normal life is that the intellect is not controlling. Our mind is actually, like, the reins are loose, and then we are running behind each and every senses, and we are trying to satisfy the senses every time, right? And then that's why we end up in conflicting situations. Sometimes we are happy, sometimes we are sad, sometimes the intellect itself says that don't do this is not right, but we don't hear, right? Because its mind is overpowering the intellect. So when mind overpowers the intellect, then we are that rein gets loose, and then that horse runs in a different direction, right? So that's why if you look at the life of drunkards and the life of drug users and all that, it gets completely dilapidated, because the issue there is that intellect is not in control, right? So this is the imagery of the Krishna, the chariot, the Mahabharata Yuddha, and we can look at each of the stories in Mahabharata, and it all tells us about our internal struggles, the way that we are supposed to be. So if we understand any of the Puranas as just a story, and just think about it, right? We don't have much to take from that, right? There is no significance of the Puranas or the stories in today's life, right? What can we learn from Puranas? If you just tell about the stories, it is good to hear the stories. That is, of course, there. But if it has to be, if we have to take some values out of it, if we have to take some ideals out of it and then implement in our life, then we need to know the tattva behind it. So this is just the starting one that we have learned during the last sessions that we had. Right. So this is where we stopped last time, the mumukshutvam one. Now, before we go to the next one, is there anything that you want to discuss on this one? Any doubts, anything? Oh, sorry. I think you had your hand up, but I was presenting, so I didn't see that. Pradeep bhai. I think you got frozen.
I think it's frozen, yes.
Yeah. Okay, so anything that you want to discuss, any kind of doubts or anything that whatever till we have covered, is there anything that you want to understand, discuss?
I'm okay.
I'm okay as well for now.
All right, okay.
Only one question, Haribhai. Since you mentioned that we are not trying to justify here whether Puranas really happened or not. I mean, we are not challenging that. But so will we cover all those aspects going forward in the further discussion? Like exactly what are Puranas?
Yeah, we will. So first is, this text that we are looking at, we will try to understand the concept, and then, if we are taking this forward to the next level, then what will happen is that we will try to look at the stories, and then we will try to tie the ideals to the stories on what each of these stories means, right, from a Vedantic perspective, right? So what exactly was meant by that story, right? So we will look at it. So, but first, because during the earlier days, the way that it used to happen is that through the stories, the ideals had to be taught. But now I think we have surpassed that stage, because these days we know the story and we don't know the ideals. So first of all, the ideals need to be taught, right? So stories we all know well. So we will look at the ideals, and then we will look at the story, and then we will tie both of these, and then we'll see what those story actually means.
Yeah, thank you, Haribhai. Yeah.
So, Pradeepa, you had your hand up. Sorry, I will not be able to see that because I'm presenting. So, if there is anything, just
Okay, fine. I didn't want to interrupt while you were going through the process or explaining us. I dropped off for the last 1-2 minutes, but my question was more, when you were explaining that when Krishna says that when he was born, right, to go into the tattva behind it, right? So that, what was the analogy like? I mean, is the same as understanding the self inside, or understanding the purpose of why or what we are, going through? As does that relate when he was trying to explain that to Arjun, the tattva part?
Right. So, what Krishna is trying to say is that, and that's what he says in the Bhagavad Gita, right? So he should not be taken as an individual, like as a body, right? So whatever he has done, this relates to the story. If you look at the story as an example, right? The story just says that, I'll take one story as an example, which is about, you might have heard about Krishna having 16,000 wives. Haven't you heard all? Right? And then
Nakasur one.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's right. Yeah.
Right. And then that's something that at times people ridicule also, right? Somebody who wants to take our religion, ridicule our religion. They say that you have got God Krishna has got 16,008 wives, right? So things like that. So, but again, the Upanishad has got a specific reference there to the mantras in the Veda, which is the closest to the Lord or defining the nature of that one self, right? And that is called as Rik. Each of the mantras are called Rik, and the 16,008 are the Riks that are defining the nature of that Brahman or the Lord, right? So when you put that into a story, what it says is that okay, you are the closest. These 16,008 are the closest to the Lord, or they are their wives, right? They are Lord's wife, Krishna's wife. So there is clearly the sloka also. Ashtavashta sahasradve shadadikya striyastada. It goes like that, right? So, but we don't know that, right? So when somebody says that, what Krishna has got 16,008, we take it from a worldly perspective. And
so
we
it's
say
actually
that
the virtues of the Brahman is what we are trying to say there. So go
yeah,
into the details of what it constitutes, the virtues of that. Yeah, okay.
right. So that 16,008, each of those 16,008 wives, as it is being called in the story, each of those are virtues.
Got
And
it.
then each of these are clearly defined in the Vedas. But in Veda, if you look at, you will not find a reference to Krishna as such, Krishna or these wives. But in Vedas, the way it is mentioned is the supreme source, that energy, right? And these virtues of it, or the qualities, or the way that it is being explained. So when you translate that to a story, right, then you are putting an imagery there of Krishna and then the wives. So that's how it gets translated to a story.
Got it.
Right. So then shall we move to the next part?
Yeah.
Now, so what we will be learning here is about this concept called as Atman, right? So before we go there, right, we have already seen the qualifications required and all that. So the point is, why we need to learn, first of all, right? Why we should learn Sanatana Dharma. That's a very important question, right? So we have all of us here. So before I go to the next part, I would actually like to understand, right? What is your view of why you are here, or what do you expect from this discussion? What do you understand by religion or Sanatana Dharma, or whatever the way that you call it, right? And what is your expectation from the Vedanta or Vedas, or from our scriptures and texts?
Mine is very simple. That I have questioned from childhood. Who who am I, and where I'm going to go, and where I came from. So maybe there are many intelligent people who wrote all those things. They may have experienced something, and it might help my journey to understand something about my within, and that is the main purpose.
That's a great answer. Yeah.
I think I'll just add to that. I mean, the question I had was always, is there something like a superpower, or what is driving this universe, right? What is it? Or the energy, and never get an answer. You get the answers in science and physics, but not a clear answer. What is it? And even myself, with energy within me, or what is that? That was one. And the second part, obviously, there's always been this thing about we are born in this religion, one of the greatest culture we have, one of the greatest history and books and knowledge. but we don't know anything about it. Always felt very, something in my back of my mind that, while we are one of the richest civilizations, we have the, largest knowledge, yet we are not able to access it, right? And we are not able to make use of something we should be proud of, and, we should be able to make use of. So that is also one big thing I would like to overcome. Yeah.
That's good. Anyone else, Nilesh bhai?
Just want to add a little bit more to that. Like,
Yeah.
what about the like janma, mrityu, prarabdha, karma? I mean, why all this, or any happiness, suffering? I mean, so many things are there. What you see in the world around you. I mean, those are the questions that why it would happen when like sometimes we say God does everything. Why not all good and hunky dory? So those sort of things, yeah.
I think it's also equally important to understand, like, when we do a puja, for example, we light a diya next to the god. Like, why do we do it? Like, there is some sense to it, right? It's not just that in the olden days there was no light. That's not the answer, right? So there's much more to it, right? So there's a reason why we do it. It has, and like I said, everything it has is symbolic of something, right? So why do we do aarti? Like, why do we ghanti kyun bajate? Like, when you do puja, like, everything is a symbol of something. It's good from this, like, I expect to understand a little more why our culture is that way. What have we forgotten over the generation? That's what I'm aiming to do from this.
Great. So that's a good point. So we will cover that as well, right? So once we look at the ideals, so why we do the diya and all that puja, what is the purpose of it, right?
Yeah, there's many more, but like that's I just wanted to mention that it is a small section of what we don't know of the daily things we do, basically, right? So
Yeah. So the rituals are of course, what we call as achara, right? That has got specific significance once you start understanding the principles behind it, right? Why we are doing it, right? Otherwise it just becomes something mechanical.
yeah,
Right. So yeah, so that's not what it means actually. So if you are doing a puja, so you need to understand why we are doing it in the first place, right? That once we look at the Atman and we go through the further concepts, so we will come to that rituals part. Yeah.
cool.
Any other view? Anyone wants to share? Okay. So see, the point is that now before we get on further, so in ancient Bharat, our rishis, right? Our great rishis, what they, or the people in ancient Bharat, right? So what they did was they had a different thought process to the Western world or the rest of the world. And what was that? Even if you look at today, the way that we look at things is, what is there in the outside world? What can I learn? Right? Everything that we learn is probably for the world outside, right? So physics, chemistry, whatever it is, right? We are trying to learn everything. We are trying to go behind the reasoning, uh, behind each and everything that we see, and we are trying to learn the things out there, right? So that's how we also make a living, right? Something that is not us, but something that can give us some pleasure or whatever that is, right? So ancient India also had the the principles, like the science, the astronomy, all that things were there. But then what they also asked the question was that, okay, all this is fine, right? We are going and we are exploring what is there in the world, whatever I see, what is that, and what is the reason behind that? What is the reason behind why a particular thing works that way? Like the modern science, right? What is the reason, the logic behind that? Trying to find out what it is and trying to improvise whatever is there and trying to discover, invent, right? They also ask this question, okay, all that is fine, but how much I know about myself? who am I? Like Sandeep Bhai said, right? So am I the body, right? So I can see the body. So uh, you know, I was born in a particular time, and going by whatever that I see around me, this I will die at a particular time, right? It's just I am there in between, some in this entire cosmos, in this entire time and space continuum. I'm there in some point. I just was born, and then I'll be dying. So is there any significance to this, right? Apart from just being existent in a between a certain 2 points of time, right? So is it just the body? Am I just the body? Because body is just getting, born, decayed, and then we are dying. So then they started also looking at, themselves for centuries, the rishis, and they, through introspection, they went inside and they dissected and went inside, and through logical thinking and processing and trying to go behind each of the reasons, like, mind, intellect, and all that. Now, I'm not saying modern science has not gone there. Yes, we know quite a lot about our body through the modern science. It has gone through the mind level as well. And recently, I think, and it has stopped there, to the brain, to the matter level, right? It has not gone beyond that, right? To the mind, psychiatry, it has gone, right? And then I think there is some. I was recently reading that there is a Institute of Consciousness that has been set up in New York University. So, that's something that they are trying to explore now. So our rishis, what they did was that equally, while they gave importance to all the shastras that are there outside in terms of astronomy or the medicine and all that, they also tried to look at inside. So, and now the question comes, why we should do that? Why we should look at inside? Why we should know who am I? There are millions of people who are there and then dying out there without knowing it. What is the purpose of knowing, right? Who am I? See, the point is that we are trying to, in this lifetime, we are trying to look at everything outside. We are trying to learn everything about what we are not, but we are missing the most important thing, which we are, right? So if we are trying to understand everything that we are not and not trying to understand who we are, then we are missing the most important part there. Also, I don't know whether you have any one of you have heard about this, this author called as Ernest Becker. So it has nothing to do with Vedanta, what I'm saying. So he is one of the most leading authors who's been read after Freud, Sigmund Freud, right? So in the world of psychiatry and psychology and all that. So he has got a book which is very interesting. It is called as The Denial of Death, right? So it's a Pulitzer Prize. It has got Pulitzer Prize, right? So in that he says that each and every person, right? Human being, and even to a certain extent animals, we do everything, whatever we do, we are trying to create something called as immortality project. In a sense, we have, each of the human beings, each of us has got a desire to be immortal. I think there's some line. Yeah. So each of us has got.
I think, Sandeep, you need to be on mute, please.
So see, each of us has got this desire to be immortal, right? And that's this is completely not. I'm not talking about Vedanta. I'm talking about from a psychology perspective, which this book says, right? And which a lot of or almost everyone agrees to, right? So whatever we do, we need a continued lineage, right? Our children. So our as we say, our parampara should continue, right? Our lineage should continue through our children, their children, right? And that's the existence that we want, because we want to be, somehow we want to make an imprint in this world, as a lot of us say, right? Even if after I die, I want to leave that I lived here, I want to leave that mark in the world. So this is called as immortality project, and he says that all of us actually wants to leave something behind so that we are remembered, right? We are remembered, and we are that desire is actually the desire to be immortal. And all of us know who wants to die in this group, or anywhere outside, right? Nobody wants to die. We want to continue. Death is something that we don't want. And that is exactly what the starting point of rishis were. So what is dying, right? So what they try to understand is who is dying, what is dying, right? That I see that this body is there at a certain point of time, it is born and it is going to die at certain point of time. So is it the body that is dying, or along with the body, whatever that I feel now as me, am I also going to die? That's a question that they asked. After a lot of this introspection, they came back, they found out what the truth behind the existence is. And that's the only thing that you will see in all of these scriptures, right? Whatever we talk about, any Upanishads, any Vedas, the four Vedas, the corresponding Upanishads, everything talks about this only. The existence, what is behind our existence, whether we are just an entity that is just was not there, being there at some point of time and then just going perishing after some time. Is that what we are, or are we something beyond that? Then they came up with this wonderful proclamation, which is called as, they say that you are the children of immortality, right? And how that is. So they say that Shrunnandi Vishwe Amritasya Putraha Aye Damani Divyani Tastu Vedahameyam Purusham Mahandam Aditya Varnam Tamasat Parasta. This is the declaration of Vedas. If somebody is asking, what does Veda says? This is what Veda says. The four lines, this is what it proclaims. It says, Shrunundi Vishwe Amritasya Putraha. You hear, O children of immortality. Aye Damani Divyani Tastu. Meaning not for just from this world, not just you human beings, any living or non-living being or anything that is existent in other worlds also, if there are other worlds, right? We have seen the loka, what it means, we saw once. For them also, please hear this. Aye dhamani divyani tastu. Vedahameham purusham mahandam. The Vedas says what the reality of you is. You as an existence, what is your reality? And once you know the reality, Aditya Varnam Tamasat Parastad. Like the sun comes out and the darkness vanishes, right? Like that, you will realize your true nature. So what does Veda says? This is what Veda says. Veda says that you know your true existence. That is what is mentioned in the Vedas. And with that, you will come from ignorance to knowledge. And that's why we say that asatoma sadgamaya tamasoma jyotirgamaya, that's sloka, right? So that's what it says. Now, how do we reach that? Right? We as of today, right? Hari or Pradeep or Nilesh or anyone, we only know us as this body, right? So where do we start? Right? We can just say that, okay, all these are theoretical. You can say that I am Brahman, I am immortal, all this, that is fine in the books, because as on today, I don't feel that, I don't experience that. I don't experience that I am Brahman, or I don't experience that I am immortal. For me, I am mortal, because I know that at one point of time, this body will go, right? So then what they said was that, okay, that's fine. So then the rishis constructed a path for us to understand from where we are as on today at the body level, right? What we know, there is no doubt that we all have the bodies, we know our bodies, we understand, we see our bodies, right? This body, right? Each of our bodies. So from that point, they said, okay, we will guide you step by step to that path, right? We will first tell you what are those things that constitutes you as a person, and then we will take you step by step inside and we will tell you what it is. Then you can put your efforts and realize what is your true nature. So first of all, to realize your true nature, you need to understand what you are. So that's what is being taught. Now what is it? And that they gave some names, and the names are Atman. The Atma is what is called as a true nature. And then they said that there are, you are this something called as Stula, Sukshma, Karana, Sharira, Panchakosha, Avastatraya, Sachidananda Swarupa and all that. These are just technical terms, but we will look at each of these terms from our perspective, that is from what we know about. So I will just, chant this. You can just listen and then we will come to each of the topics. So from the Tattva Bodha, from the fourfold qualifications that we started, now we have done with the qualifications. Now we are going into the yeah.
Sorry, just to interrupt. थोड़ा सा मुझे ना एक voice में like I'm getting disturbance slightly. I don't know if everybody is getting it, but
Paddy, we can hear Haribhai clearly, but we
okay,
get a disturbance.
Yeah. We are getting a lot of crackling. I think everybody else should be muted, to be honest.
I think it's also probably if we can turn off our cameras, it will use less bandwidth, so there's less things happening. So maybe if you turn
Bandwidth, yeah.
Probably only Hari.
okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Is that better?
Is that any better?
Yeah, seems to have improved.
slightly better, I think.
I think the crackle is much less. Yeah.
Okay. So let's continue then. So what is this Atman is what we will look at, right? So we saw the fourfold qualifications. That was like, now we are going to the first step. That is, we are the first day of school, as we say it, right? So let's start there. So Tattva Viveka, or enquiry into truth. So we are trying to see what is the real nature as per our scriptures, as per Vedas. So I'll just read that out. Tattva Viveka ka Atma Satyam Tadanyat Sarvam Mithyedi Atma ka Stula Sukshma Karana Sharirat Vidiriktaha Panchakoshaditaha San Avastatre Sakshi Sachidananda Swarupaha San Istishtadi Sa Atma. So then comes the Stula Sharira. I'll just read this all out and then we can go to the explanation. Stula Shariram Kim Panjikrita Panchamahabhutaihi Kritam Satkarmajanyam Sukhadukkadibogayatanam Shariram Asti Jayate Vardate Viparinamate Apakshiyate Vinashyatiti Shadvigaravad Edat Stula Shariram. Now, let's start from the point that we know about ourselves, that is the body. So we will start from there. So what is it? So first, if you look at from a body perspective, so these are the various stages that we will have to go through, or we have already gone through with this body. That is, the first is asti, pre-birth. Pre-birth in the sense we were there in our mother's womb. So this shell or this body got formulated in the mother's womb, and that particular stage is called as asti. That is the pre-birth stage. Then jayate, we were born. Vardhate. So then obviously we are growing, this body is growing, the intellect is growing, so we are growing up. Then after a certain point of time, then we change our appearance, and then the changes happens in the body, like we attain puberty and all that, right? So that viparinamate. Then after a certain point of time, that is the stage I think almost all of us are there in. Now our growth is done and almost changes are done. Now it's the downward spiral, right? So we will be like cells start to decay, and then we all of us are getting the gray hair, and then it will come down. The faculties are like now diminishing one by one. We are not as strong as we were in 20s or 30s, right? And then we will slowly our bones will not have that kind of strength that it used to have. So we know that. So now the body will slowly decay and we will come to the death. So this is the property of the Stula Sharira or this body as we see it, right? So I don't think that there should be any kind of doubt in this, right? So we all know this, right? So the reason why this is mentioned here is that the rishis want us to take from the point that we know of, and this is something nobody will have a doubt about. So is there anything to be discussed regarding this? I hope not. Okay, so yeah, so now.
Sorry, 1 second.
Sorry, was that a question? Was that a question?
Yep.
Did you ask a question?
Yeah, please go ahead.
I had a question, sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not too clear about pre-birth. Why is it called Asti?
You've just taken my question because I was going to ask that, is that Asti as like, why is it called Asti? You know,
It is, see, the point is
yeah.
there are two ways of looking at it, right? You know, from if you look at Asti, if you literally translate that, it is like existence, right? So that's what the meaning is, right? So it is
Yeah,
existing.
so is
right?
is it that we're trying to say that, you know, as because there is you have through the whole journey as we've been going through is a transformation, right? The gold example, right? The gold and then the ornaments. So this life, the whole thing, then when we go through our life, right, from pre-birth, birth, growth, and so on. Pre-birth actually is the phase where it is gold. And when you're going through birth, growth, changes, decay, death, is the ornaments phase, right? Maybe you go back to after death, you go back into that gold state again, which is your just the consciousness. I'm just trying to relate it to that, but yeah.
Right. So this Asti, at this point of time, just make a mental note of it. What that this Asti is there, the existence is there, and then the all this decay, death, and all it is coming. Like what Pradeep said, it has got that significance because you are what Vedanta is trying to say, or what we are trying to learn is that you were never non-existent. You were always there, right? So that's what we will come to. But and that is why it is called as Asti. But just make a note of it. We will revisit this point of Asti and why it is called as Asti. But then now at this point, let's forget that we know about Brahman, Maya, nothing as such. So we are just laymen starting to realize from our body. Let's go with that mindset so that and we will come back to this once we look at the entire scheme of things. Okay.
Okay.
Right. Now, this particular, and then there is another thing, if you are making some notes, and there is another thing that you need to make note of, which is about this Panchikrita Panchamahabhutaihi Kritam. There is one statement here called as Panchikarana. And Panchikarana is a process as per the Vedas, which describes the creation or the manifestation. So, there are a lot of theories like Big Bang and all that on how this universe came into being and what constitutes this. As per Vedanta, again, just make a note of it. We are going to see this in detail about the creation manifestation. So what we will be doing is, there are two things that we are going to do. First, we are trying to understand about this body and what we are, who am I in reality. Then what is this world? Right? So two aspects, whatever we know of. So first is individual, which we call as the micro, and the macro, right? The macro, which is like the world and the universe. So both we are going to visit in this. So now the first part is the Sharira, or we as we know ourselves. Now this is Stula Sharira, and it has got Asti Jayate Vardate Viparinamate Apakshiyate Vinashyati. Pre-birth, birth, growth, changes, decay, and death. Right? Now let's go to the next one. And this is Stula Sharira. The Sukshma Sharira. I'm not spending much time on Stula Sharira, as everyone knows about it. Right now, Sukshma Sharira, I'll just read it out. Sukshma shariram kim apanchīkrita panchamahabhūtaihi kritam satkarma janyam sugadukkhādi bhoga sadhanam panchajnanendriyāni panchakarmendriyāni panchapranādayah manaschaikam buddhischayika evam saptadashākalābhihi saha yettishtati tat sukshma shariram. Now, there is another, what they're saying is that, okay, the outer shell is all fine. So we all know about it. But we also know that we are not just this body, right? Because we have mind, we have our thinking power, we have other faculties, right? So we of course know that it is not just the body, because if you look at it, even there are times where we are existing without the body, as in sleep, in the sense we are not conscious. When I say without the body, while we are in the dream, right, we are somewhere else without the notion that we are sleeping and we are in a bed, right? At that point of time during the dream, that dream is our reality till the time we wake up, or till the time we go into the further deep sleep, right? So of course we know that whatever the outer shell that is being seen, it is not us. We have something inside this, or if you want to put it like that, like inside. Or so what is that? That is called as sukshma shariram, or the next level. So the first level is the stula shariram. The next level, so what we are doing is that we are going to this, the Stula Sharira we have seen. Now we are going to the Sukshma Sharira. And what is Sukshma Sharira? So I'll just come to that. So there is a very grand bifurcation that is being mentioned by our rishis about, they have bifurcated. It's like dissecting ourselves. Like, we have done this in the zoology and all, right? Dissecting a cockroach and then, trying to take that each and every part with a scalpel. So that is what exactly is being done here with us. So we are actually going through a surgery now, right? And what is that surgery? This, through the intellect, we are trying to understand ourselves. So what is it? So what is been said is, once we go further inside, we look at the faculties. And what are the faculties? Pancha Jnanendriya. The faculties of sound, touch, taste, sight, smell, the senses as we call it, right? So the sound, we know, though we say that, it's the ear. It's not just the outer shell of the ear, right? People who doesn't have the hearing also has got the outer shell. It is a faculty of the hearing or power of hearing that is called as Shabda. So it's not just the outer shell of the ear. It is whatever is inside the faculty, the power of hearing. So one thing that we all need to understand, or we need to keep in mind at this point of time is, even if the body, for a dead body, all this is there, right? You will be perfect at times that, when during a heart attack, if one dies, everything is there. Your eyes are there, ears are there, everything is there, but the faculty is not there. Something has gone from the body, as we say it, right? The faculty of sound, the touch, taste, sight, smell, Shabda, Sparsha, Rupa, Rasa, Gandha, as we call in Sanskrit. That is called as the next level, which we call as the Pancha Jnanendriyas, or these are called the Indriyas. In Sanskrit, these are called Indriyas. And total, there are 5 Jnanendriyas. Why it is called as Jnanendriya? Because we understand, perceive this world through these Jnanendriyas. These are our receptors, actually. These are receptors through which we understand and interact with the outside world. So whatever that we know as on today, whatever knowledge that we have assimilated, accumulated, whatever skills that we are having, all we have learned through these 5. So I hope there is no doubt there. Or is there any question there?
No, I think Haribai, for this one, I think we went through as well in the previous one. So this
Oh, is it? Okay.
areas are
I thought, okay,
understandable.
that's fine. So then it's okay. So I thought we stopped at the
No, just the Jnanendriyas we have gone through. I think we related to them in the Krishna and Arjun discussion as well, right?
Okay. Yeah. All right. Yeah. So then we are talking about the karmendriyas. The karmendriyas is the power of speech, right? So what is karmendriyas? Through which we do the karmas, our duties, or through which any kind of action is being done. So speech, right? What we are doing, it's a karma, right? So that is called as vag in Sanskrit. With hands, all the actions, most of our actions are being done through hands, right? Then feet. So again, there is no need to explain. We do our actions through the feet. Payu is the organ of excretion. Upastham is the reproductive organ. So all this within the body. When I say all these indriyas, it is not just, again, I'm just telling this to make sure that we understand this correctly. It is not just about the body as such, the physical body, but there is a faculty, the faculty of the speech, the faculty of hands, the faculty of feet to do that particular exercise, right? Of karma. Or in the similar way for the jnanendriyas, the sound, touch. So again, we are trying to go inside. So first the outer body, then whatever the knowledge receptors are there, that is the pancha jnanendriyas, then the pancha karmendriyas through which we do the action. And how is it related? Because most of the time we hear something and our actions are all being dictated by what we assimilate through the pancha jnanendriyas, right? So we do our actions according to whatever we are knowing through these pancha jnanendriyas. Right. So if you are working in the office, if you are in a meeting, right, whatever the actions are being told in the meeting, so we assimilate that, then we do that, if we have to go somewhere and collect something, all that. So the jnanendriyas drives actually the karmendriyas to a certain extent, right? So jnanendriyas, karmendriyas. Now we are coming one more layer inside. Now, what is actually happening inside the body, apart from the jnanendriyas and karmendriyas? Again, this we know, jnanendriyas and karmendriyas we know. So our rishis, what they did was that they studied our system, the entire system of how it is working. And then again, they bifurcated, separated for our understanding into 5 different levels, which is called as the prana. The prana is actually normally the understanding of prana is equal to life. That's how we have understood it, right? So it is life, yes, of course, but it is also how the life is functioning in our body, right? So we don't know that as on today, when I'm speaking to you, as I'm sitting here, or when you are listening, you don't know what is happening inside your body. I don't know what is happening inside my body, in the sense that which way the blood is circulating, what is getting digested. So that is all happening in the back end, right? So our rishis are trying to take us there. And the first thing that they said is about the respiratory action, the prana, the respiration. Right? So when we take the air inside, how does it travel? And this concept of pancha prana is the basis for our medicinal branch of knowledge called as Ayurveda. Right? So this pancha prana, if you look at all the Ayurvedic texts, the Ayurvedic ways of treating you, it is all based on this. And similarly, yoga is also based on this. So, right, so the pranayamas and all that we talk about in yoga is again based on the pancha pranas. So, each of these pancha pranas, how you control that is actually the pranayama. It is not just about the respiration. Normally, people have to a certain extent misunderstood that it is just about doing this, and that is one part of it. Only just respiration is only one part. When you are controlling all these 5 pranas, that is actually called as pranayama. So now coming back to that prana, the respiratory system within us, that is called as the normal prana. Then the apana, the evacuation system that works, right? So whatever that our body should excrete, that system is called as apana. So these are all terminologies as of now, which will help you to understand when we go further deeper into the text. Then how the body fluids and how the blood is getting circulated within the body, it is known by the name Vyana. That is the name for this particular prana called as vyana, the circulatory system within the body. Then the samana, the digestive system. So the digestive fluids and all that, right? You know how the food is getting digested. So if you look at from an overall perspective, they are covering everything what is there in the body. So respiratory, evacuation, circulation, digestion, and then there is one more which is called as udana, the reversal. So see, if you look at everything has been covered: respiratory, evacuation, circulation, digestion. So any clue or any thoughts on what udana could be?
Hari, question here. Evacuation I still didn't get exactly. Is it like when we are releasing the air back, or is it something more?
No.
More
So
like
evacuation means evacuation is the excretionary process, right? The gastrics that we have, while we do the excretion in terms of the poo and that, right? So that's what it is.
how is,
Urine and poo, and
how
also
is
this
it
is
then different to Udana? How is it different to Udana? The last one, reversal.
so that's what udana we haven't discussed yet. That's what I was asking, whether there is anyone has any clue, because we have almost had everything here, right? So I'll tell you what udana is. Udana is the reversal system. What is the reversal system means is it is a kind of anything that goes within the body that is not part of the body, right? It is trying to throw it out. In the sense, if we have some dust, something going inside the eyes, the reflex that we have is by udana, right? And anything that any bacteria that goes inside, any fever that we get, is all part of the body trying to get back to its equilibrium, right? So any virus, we try to get it out, any antibodies that is generated. So that is the reversal system, right? So that can also be called as the immunity system, right? That we have within the body. But it is also more than the immunity system. As per our shastras, it is also said that udana is also responsible for slowing down our senses at the time of the death, right? Now, how that is possible, how that is done, is a separate branch of study within Ayurveda. So if you look at the Pancha Prana, everything is covered. Prana, the respiration; the apana, the evacuation system of all the evacuations that are going from the waste that is being going from our body, right? And then the vyana, the circulatory system, blood, fluids, all that getting circulated, the digestive system, and the reversal system. This is the concept of pancha prana. So what have we seen till now? Our sthula sharira, this body, and the faculties of sound, speech, right? The panchendriya, panchajnanendriya, sound, touch, taste, sight, smell, and the karmendriyas, speech, hands, feet, anus, and reproductive organs. What they do, and then a step inside to know our own body, the respiratory system, evacuation system, circulation, digestion, and reversal. Now we are going one step again.
Haribhai, sorry.
Yeah.
Haribhai, sorry, one question.
Yeah, sure.
Like we offer the prasad to God, we say, we utter the shlok, pranaya swama swaha, panaya swama udana. We utter. So is it the same way it's related to the explanation which you gave, right? Before we offer to God, we say the shloka as well.
Absolutely, yes. So now those pranaya swaha, apanaya swaha, vyanaya swaha, samanaya swaha. So that why we are chanting that sloga is because now we are just talking about the system here, the functioning here. Now, what is the power behind these functions? That is what we are going to further drill down, drill down, drill down, and we are going to come to that, right? And why we are saying that sloka is because what we are going to ultimately understand is that while we dissect and go in and find what power it is, that is the same power that we call as God, that energy source. That's what it is, right? And how we are trying to go and reach that logically. So once you reach that point, you will understand that whatever that powers this prana, apana, vyana, because these are just functions. It's like, it's just like various parts in a car. But what is making the car moving? What is making the engine moving? Is the gas or the petrol that is there, the power, right? So because of that, that might not be a correct example. I'm just telling you for your understanding. But the functioning, these are all just functions. What is it? What is the energy? What is the in our terms? What is electricity that is powering that bulb or powering that particular music instrument or whatever that is, right? The TV or the DVD player. So what is it? That is actually that power which is called as the Ishvara. Now, when we look at the macro level, we will also understand these functionalities. This gross body is also that Ishvara only. There is nothing apart from that. So we are coming to that. And to answer your question, exactly this is what is represented there.
Thank you.
Because without Pancha Prana, we are not there, right? That's the most important. Now, any other questions on this? Okay. So now we go one step further inside. Now we have understood the gross body. We have understood the faculties, Jnanendriya, Karmendriya, and the Prana. Now we all have this, we are all thinking, we are all making our statements. So what is that faculty? Now the Rishi says that, that is something called as Antakarana. And this is something that we have seen once, right? But then again, I will, explain here. So if you go behind the normal functions of the body, and when we go to that intellect level, or what we call as mind or intellect or thinking faculty, whatever it is, it has been separated into 4 different parts. Collectively, it is called as Antakarana. Now, what we have, apart from all this, what we have said, is the thoughts that we are having, right? The thoughts, the perceptions, all that we are having. Now, what are those? There are 4 layers: mana, buddhi, chitta, ahankara. So these are the 4 layers for Antakarana. So what is mana? Mana is the random thoughts that we are having, right? So now we might be sitting in the class, and then, I might be talking, thinking that, you are all understanding this, but your mind will be somewhere else, right? So it might have gone to India, it might have gone to, Sri Krishna Vada Pav as an example, right? So, it might be wandering somewhere. So, and those thoughts are not something that we have invited. And that's what we should note here, right? If you just sit and observe, you will see that you will have these random thoughts coming to you without you consciously thinking about it, right? It's not that, you wanted to think about a particular thought at that point of time. As an example, if you're thinking about the example that I said, Sri Krishna Vadapa, right? You didn't want to think about that. You are in a class. You are sitting here. You're listening to what your real nature is, but your mind just went there without asking, without seeking, it just went there as a random thought. So that thought or that flow of thoughts, which are random thoughts, that is called as the mana. Now, there is another bifurcation to it called as Vikshepa, Ajnana, Avarana, which we will see at a later point of time. But for now, for our understanding, let's understand that mana is the random thoughts. Now, Buddhi, the next level, is our what we generally call as intellect, right? The discriminating facility in us, in the sense that what is right, what is wrong. Should I do this? Should I not do this? Right? And with this particular faculty, and again, these are again thoughts. So what we are trying to do here is that we are trying to just split the nature of the thoughts according to its functionalities. Like, the random thoughts is one bucket of thoughts. The ones that give us that analytical, discriminative, and kind of knowledge, understanding kind of thoughts, those are called as buddhi, through which we make decisions, right or wrong. We understand what needs to be done, what doesn't need to be done, right? So that is the faculty, that those thoughts are called as buddhi. Now the next one is chitta. Chitta is like your storehouse of thoughts, the memories. So, suddenly you'll remember about something. You have everything stored in you. Even there are thoughts that you will forget. Of course, if I ask you, like, what you did 10 years before or even 2 years before, you might not remember. But the most important things that impact your life has been stored in the storehouse of memory, and that memory is called as chitta, right? So mana, random thoughts; buddhi is that discriminating power, and the intellect, as we call in the modern language. Chitta is your memory, and ahankara. Now this is the most important one. It's the ego, I. That is also a thought. We think that how can I be a thought? Because I is everything included, and that is the power of I, in the sense that whatever you see here, the stula sharira, the pancha jnanendriyas, pancha karmendriyas, pancha pranas, andakarana, including mana, buddhi, and chitta, this all gets assimilated into one. When I say into one, there is a controlling power, or there is a controlling thought, a base thought for all this, which is called as I, ahankara. That's why I feel that it is my body, it is my faculty, it is whatever I am doing is mine, for everything that you do, right? Be it my house, my wife, my children, right? Everything has got that I in it, mine, I. So that is a base thought for all this. That also is a thought, because when you are sleeping, that I is absent. You are completely, you don't know, right? In deep sleep, there is no I, but you are still there, right? Because otherwise you will not come back to life next morning, right? You are sleeping there, right? But I also merges into something, in the sense that it also goes away during the deep sleep, and it races when the mind races, or the andakarana races. And I'm not using mind from a generic perspective. I'm using, whenever I'm using mind, I'm using in this sense, the antakarana sense, right? So as soon as we wake up, the first thing that comes to us, knowingly or unknowingly, is I. There might be, we might have all gone through that situation, right? When suddenly we have woken up in the middle of the night, or during the early morning, and then we are like, for 1-2 seconds, like we are like totally blank. Where am I? Just like it will not last, right? It will be there for just 2 seconds, and then you suddenly come to what we call as coming to senses, right? So this is all this constitutes our sukshma sharira. So what we have done is, we have gone one step inside, and we have seen what this outer shell, this body is, and what is inside our body in terms of our faculties, panchajnanendriya, panchakarmendriya, prana, and antakarna. So I think we will stop here today, right? Because it might be more to take if I go further. So let's come to the questions, and let's have the discussions, whatever we have to discuss, and then we can continue the rest of the next class.
Thank you, Haribai. One quick question I had on the last part is, so you just said, when you said is when you go and sleep, right? There's no I. Does that mean actually when we are in sleep, right, and the I goes away, and I'm seeing a dream, or wherever my consciousness is not in my body, or is actually elevated,
No.
right?
When I say I means ahankara. We will come to the consciousness later. We have not reached that stage.
Yeah.
Right? What we know about is ahankara. I meaning I, Hari, right? As I call myself, that Hari goes away, right? Now Hari in deep sleep doesn't know about Hari himself and the wife, children, or the house or anything that is there in the waking world, right? whatever we call, whatever I call myself and whatever I am proud of, or I am being pained of, I get pleasure from, nothing is there, right? That Hari, I has gone away.
So basically, it is not carrying any memory or baggage. It's not carrying any memory baggage. It's kind of moving, going in like clean. Yeah. So it's basically there's no history. There's no that thing is not there because that is in the material world. Yes. Right. Is that what
Yes,
you're trying to say?
that is in the waking world. The waking world, what separates me from you is what? The notion that I, I am Hari. And the similar way that you feel you are Pradeep, or whatever you call, whatever your name is. I have my ego, right? Ego is nothing like, in Vedanta, it is something that is understood for everyone,
Got it.
Vedanta and so on, Vedanta. So that ego goes, dissolves in the sleep. That's the way to put it, right? And then it wakes up when we wake up in the
Okay.
morning. So ego, ahankara is equal to ego.
Got it. Yeah.
Haribhai, can you put that last slide and I
Yeah.
ask you. I just want to ask you as a clarification कि हमने जो अभी तक जो बात की, that is all related to human body and what is human body as a inside happening, right?
Yep.
Or this is not related to any other body, which is animals or anything else, because everything is there apart from mana, buddhi, and chitta in animals. So that three things I think that missing in animals, right?
Yeah, exactly. So see, if you look at the evolution, from that perspective, we know that humans are at its peak point, right? We are the on the top of it, right? From a evolution perspective. So if you are talking about animals, right? They also have some of it, depending on what kind of animal it is, right? There are, as we have studied in zoology, there are various types of animals, and which has got some has not got all the senses, some has got some senses. So
They have chitta, but missing mana, buddhi, and ahankara. So buddhi brings ahankara in my eyes.
no, so if you look at even, let's say, monkeys, or anything in this world has got kind of the feeling of I, correct? So that is there. Now, how much of discriminative power, intellectual power, how much of memory is there, how much of random thoughts are there, we don't know exactly. I mean, of course, there are scientists who might be studying that, right? But then the point is that because we are humans, we know about ourselves. But then for animals, some of it is present, some of it is absent. So if you look at from a entire evolution perspective, this is the entire full map of the Sukshma Sharira. It doesn't mean that animals doesn't have Sukshma Sharira. They do, but it is that they might not have all the faculties like what humans have. But if you look at, as an example, this, right? They have prana, they have evacuation, they have circulation, they have digestion, they have reversal as well, right? They
First
don't
three
have the
all
speech, right? Yeah, they don't have the speech, they cannot, right? They, some of it has hands, some of it doesn't have, some of it has feet, depending on what animal it is. Almost all, or some of them also don't have the payu, and some of it reproduces in different manner. So depending on what kind of animal and plants, even plants has got, right? So depending on what kind of animals and plants it is, this part varies, and this part also varies.
So
But
this is just about body and not about the Atma, right?
no. We
Right
have
now.
not reached Atma. And again, I'm telling you that, now we are just looking at it. We are taking a step by step, baby steps journey, right? From what we know as on today to what is unknown. We are trying to dissect ourselves and walk those steps. So right now, because we talked about Atman Brahman, you know what it is. But right now, for at least for next couple of classes, we don't know what Atman is, right? Let's put it that way. We are just trying
This
to
is
understand
only
what is
about
going on.
body. We're talking
Yeah, body,
only
that's it.
about body.
We are talking only about the body. We are talking about the gross body and the subtle body here, right? We will come to the Atman. Don't confuse now with Atman or anything, right? But what we are trying to say is from gross body, how do we reach the level of Atman? First of all, is there an Atman? Is there something called as Atman? Whether it is real or not, right? And for that, we need to understand from the level that we are in. That is the gross body and the subtle body. So we have just seen two things, gross and subtle. Now we will come to something called as Karana Sharira in our next class.
Oh,
Anyway,
I
just
think
one,
quite clear. Yeah, sorry, go on. Let's go on. Go on.
just a quick one on the Pancha Prana. Like, is there something additional we can read through before the next lesson?
Additional that you can read through. Yeah, I'll try.
The reason why I say that is because like when we discuss, it's difficult to grasp the entire thing that we're trying to explain. But probably when we read it a second time, it might kind of.
I'll send you something. But again, see, the point is that uh, even if you take out that the word of pancha prana, right? This is something that we know of, right? Because we know that we have a respiratory system from a modern science perspective also. We have the respiratory system, we have the evacuation system, the blood circulation and the fluid circulation in the body, the digestion and the reversal, that is the immunity and reversal system. So we just need to understand that we are not going to details from a Vedantic perspective. Of course, if we want to go into the details, we can go either we can go to the modern science and then look at it from a biological perspective, or we can go to Ayurveda and then we can look at it, right? That is there. But we are not going to discuss. That's not the point. We are trying to see, just understand what is there and go behind that.
Yeah,
Of course, each of these, right? Pancha prana, I mean, Jnanendriya, Karmendriya, Antakarana, everything is itself by itself a branch of study, and that is what it is, right? The pancha prana, if you look at, this is what is the base of Ayurveda, right? The speech, hands, feet, everything, and sound, touch, we have the study in the modern science. We have the branch of hearing, that sound, all that is there, right? The doctors and the branch of studies are there. So that's not the point that we are trying to make here. The point that we are trying to make is just understanding what we are from this body perspective, going inside, and then trying to understand what our real nature is. So our rishis are trying to take us step by step from what we know as on today as this I, or this body plus mind plus whatever that is, to what our real nature is. So logical steps. That is what is being done here.
got it. Okay, understood.
Yeah, Hari, suggestion here. I mean, what we did today, right? These slides. Maybe we should just go through those, and again, any notes if we have made, and just come back and do like a 2-minute thought reflection back for each of us.
I was about
So
to
it
suggest that.
carries the correct thought.
Right.
Yeah.
So this is the first step actually, right? And it is nothing, if you actually look at it, right? I would say that this has nothing to do with Vedas or Vedanta. It is just, if you look at it, is something that we know in the modern world as well. It's just that we have just put those in the logical buckets, and that's about it, right? And we are trying to understand. So is it possible for us to just do a small kind of as I say, a homework kind of a thing, right? Just if you can draw the subtle body and the, I mean, the gross body and the subtle body. right? The Sukshma and Karana, and then Sthula and Sukshma, and then these things. Just your understanding, if you can draw, write, whatever, right? So the point is that, it is, we should look at it like we are studying it step by step. If this is not understood, right, if these basics are not understood, it'll be difficult to go. So can we have a 2 minute, like what Pradeepai said, can we have a 2 minute catch up in the next class? If somebody can present what we have learned today, I think all of us will be benefited, right? So any volunteers? No volunteers.
Anyway, I'll do the first one. I'll do it.
Okay.
Whatever we went through. If you could
Yeah,
please share, if you could please share those slides, so it'll help me as well.
yeah. So I will upload that in that same drive, right? Yeah, and then we can refer from there.
I can do my view as well if you send me the.
Absolutely, yeah. And I would suggest if everyone can do that, that would be great. It's just that, there is, see, as I said multiple times, we are taking baby steps. There is nothing right or wrong here. It's the only point is that whether all of us have understood or not, right? So because, the more we go deeper, we should have the understanding of the basics so that we don't make our understanding is correct. Because if the basics we don't get it right, the higher understanding we might not be able to get. My suggestion is if everyone can do that, then and present the view, that would be really great.
Sounds good. Anyway.
Yeah, good point.
Okay, so
Yeah, I think
that's it. And any other questions?
the only thing I was saying, I'm conscious of the time and your time as well, because we start around 5:30. I think we should target 7, close 7, maybe. Yeah, just I don't want to, just conscious of your time as well. Anyway, so,
Yeah, sure. So we'll stick to that.
okay.
Because
I
I
think
think
maybe what we can do is you can, like, from 5 o'clock when we start, we can have the first maybe hour and 15 minutes of like Haribhai helping us out with the various processes and understandings, and then maybe we can put maybe half an hour for general discussion where we can ask questions. So that way we can finish off what we discussed as well properly, and maybe also finish in time.
yeah. So what we'll do is at 5:30 to 6:30 we will just I think maybe 5:30 5:45 we will do a recap of what we learned last time, and then 5:45 to 6:30 we will keep for the the class, and then 6:30 to 7 we will keep for the discussion, and we'll close it.
So can we connect 5 minutes before so all the people say
Yeah,
hi hello to each other and at least 7 like 5:30 we can start discussing and whoever is late they can catch up later but we can start 5:30.
yeah. Also, me and Pratibha were discussing about this, right? See, satsang is always like it is always best to do it in person, and because that has got its effect in terms of creating that atmosphere, right? So, and I think Pratibha can discuss with you all. So if you are, let's know your thoughts. Maybe in that
I am
will
up for
like. Hmm?
I'm ready for
I
it.
would love that, Haribhai, even if it's once in a while, if we meet up at some place, we can do it at my place, or maybe we can go to a more quieter place like a temple or something. We can just do it there, no problem.
Yeah, we can make a combination of that. Maybe one class in Zoom and or two classes in Zoom and class. Right? So that has its benefits, right?
Yeah.
Right. In a temple or that will be good.
I'll be able to attend the classes online, but then not the ones in person.
Sorry,
I'll be able to attend the classes online, but not
Sorry,
the ones
क्या
in
बोल रहा है?
person because I'm at uni.
okay, yeah. So, right.
But for you, when we are discussing in person, we can put one phone on so you can join that way.
Okay, okay.
Yeah. All right. So, anything else? So I think because we have started now, this is a step-by-step journey. I think it's better that we have it weekly till the time we understand the concept. Otherwise, 2 weeks after 2 weeks, we'll again it will be difficult for us to recap.
Yep, makes
Yes,
sense.
sounds good.
All right. So then we will meet next week, right? So 5:30 on Sunday.
Cool.
So meanwhile, if there is any whatever that we are learning, if there is any kind of clarifications or anything that you want, please, you all have my number as well, so you can reach out to me directly or in the group so that everyone benefits. Okay.
Thanks, everybody.
Okay.
All right. So
Thank you
let's
very much.
close the class.
Thank you.
पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते ॐ शान्तिः हरिः ॐ श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ॐ
Thank you,
Right.
everybody.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you,
Thank you.
everybody.
Bye.
Thank you,
Speak to
everybody.
you later. Thank
Thank
you.
you. Bye.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Bye. Bye, Hariji.